Good morning. Hi, Ilea. How's that baby? He's getting so big. So, oops, sorry, hit the camera. That's my MO. You guys know I hit the camera a lot. Okay, so we have One and Only Orchid from our new release. This release just happened this weekend. Oh no, that's not good. Poor little dude. Give Dom a hug for me. So this is from our brand new release that just released this weekend. Hi, Holly. And we're going to color up this orchid. So as you can see, I have, just stamped out all of the pieces except for the geometric. And then I like to store my dies on the back of my card so that everything stays together. And so these are just business card magnets and they're sticker on the back. And so I just stick them to the card and then everything is all stored together in one envelope. So we're going to use those dies later. But first things first, we're going to get to coloring. So I have chosen RV69. RV66, RV17, V05, and V04. And I don't think I wanted V04. I don't. I want RV04. So, don't mind me. Well, I changed that out. I want RV04. That's a bummer, Ilea. I'm so sorry that you all got it. Okay, so. Hey, hi Marianne. Happy 3rd birthday to the Rabbit Hole Designs. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see me coloring. So I'm gonna start. I always say that orchids have that like really vibrant, the ones I see and the ones I like the most. Oh, hi Natalie. Have that really vibrant like fuchsia kind of purpley color. So that's sort of what I'm going for. They're always much, much darker in the interior. And guys, honestly, this is where I practice my brush strokes for my hair. You see, I'm just doing like these short little brush strokes and I'm doing that towards my body and away from my body and seeing what's the most comfortable. Today, towards my body seems to be better, so that's what I'm gonna do. And this is just such a great way to practice those little brush strokes because it doesn't matter if they're small or big in this scenario. And I'm also gonna come over and since I have this color in my hand, I'm just gonna keep on going with it. Well, hi Jane. Thanks Natalie. I have the most awesome nail girl and she indulges me by putting Disney characters on my nails all the time. So I always have some sort of Disney character on my nails. We're working through all the Disney characters. I'm sure eventually I'll run out of them, but it's going to take us a while first. Okay, now this little guy is the center of the orchid. So I'm going to go ahead and add some little brush strokes to him as well. I'm going for efficiency here. I'm using one marker and then moving on to the next. So again, And yes, this is a different way than what I normally color, but I just want to show you guys that if you are like mass producing stuff, this is a great image to use for that, because you can mass produce this fairly easily and fairly quickly with a lot of impact, because this is a 3D flower. So I'll show you how to make it 3D in just when we're done coloring it. Okay, so there we're at. It was a funky chicken. Hi, Linda Lou. Can you tag your daughter? Because I do not see her on here right now. She might not be awake yet. She's such a night owl. Okay, so we have our second color. Again, just practicing those brush strokes. And that's the cool thing about flowers is Mother Nature is very imperfect. She likes things to be perfectly imperfect. So your brush strokes can be different sizes. They can be different lengths. Do you guys like this time? It is way too early for Sandy. Oh, thanks, Charlotte. Hi. We have another 3D flower too, which is the tropical Flora. And it is so cool. You can make so many different types of flowers with it. Originally, it was meant to be... Hold on. I'm not coloring this part because I want it to be yellow, so... Anyways, originally it was meant to be a hibiscus flower, but I've made carnations out of it. I've made kind of, I don't know, just different looking flowers out of it. So it's very, very versatile. And actually, if you plan on going to any of the Penner's conferences, either in Boise, Idaho, or in, I think it's Dallas, might be Fort Worth, Texas, not sure. I mean, that's all the same area, so, you know. Oh, it's maybe Irving, Texas? I don't know, somewhere in that area. We are teaching an entire class on the tropical flora. So that's going to be super duper fun. Okay, marker number 2 complete. It is a fun and easy flower. Hi, Sarah. How are you today? Now, this RV17 is like a highlighter. It's super wicked bright. I love it. I mean, it's not as bright as RV25, but it is super wicked bright. Okay, now, this is the third color, and those of you who color with me often know that, okay, thanks Tyler, it's in Fort Worth, know that the third color is our true color. So I'm going to come in from this end as well, because I want this flower to look three-dimensional, and so I want it to look like those petals are shaped back. So with the third color in your blend, or whatever the center color is. Depends if you're coloring with a 5-color blend, or a 7-color blend, or a 9-color blend, or a 3-color blend. Tyler knows to send search parties for me to check on me if I color with anything less than 5. I like this time of day because I get to sit and color with my coffee, and there's usually no deliveries out, so Archie doesn't bark. It's really cold outside. It's 28 degrees. So there shouldn't be anybody walking their pets at this point in time. So it's a good time. I know, right? I agree with you, Sarah. I'm such a summer person. I thrive in like 85, 90 degrees. That's my happy place. I really like the dry air here in Idaho, but I'm super over this winter thing. I could live in a land of perpetual summer. I would be fine with that. My husband, on the other hand, would not be okay with that. He would melt. Yes, Tyler. Maybe I have a little Olaf in me. Really blending these two colors together, overlapping them. It's funny, every time I do, June. June is great here. Every time I do the flower assembly videos, Sandy's not here, and she's the one that wants the flower assembly videos the most. May is pretty nice here, but I'm like a June, July person. I'm going to Orlando in April. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be nice and warm. So excited. Although I can't decide if we should do Universal for Harry Potter and Jurassic Park, or if we should do Disney. It's really a tough decision. I assume those two parks are equidistant from you, Tyler? Tyler schooled me on Florida. Everything in Central Florida is about a half an hour away. So I'm going to assume that it's all just about the same. It's too hot by then. Well, you guys live in a really central, fun place then. Good job on choosing that home location. I don't think I could live in Florida, though. There's like a lot of hurricane activity down there. Okay, and then RVO4, and this one is like a highlighter. It's really bright. but it settles down some. But I like how it interacts with that V. And just makes it so bright and makes it pop. And notice with this color, I'm going like way back into the petals because I want this bright color to marry with the other colors and create different shades. So it looks like I've used more markers than I've actually used. Suppose I could pull the light down more. Is that helpful? A little more light for you? Oh, well, that's cool. That's good to know, Tyler. I lived in South Carolina when Hurricane Floyd came through, and there were so many tornadoes that came off of Hurricane Floyd that I think people didn't really realize, and it tore up the entire block behind us. And that was, I think, more scary than the hurricane itself, because you have a pretty good idea where the hurricane itself is going to go, but all those tornadoes are so unpredictable. So it tore up the entire block behind where we lived. And it was pretty scary. I like Idaho. We don't have a lot of that stuff. Little tiny earthquake every now and again. Good with that. Lived in California where we had some pretty major ones. Not so fun. But I would take an earthquake over a hurricane because earthquakes shake you and rattle you for a couple of seconds and then it's done. Hurricanes, you lose like 5 freaking days of your life. All right. Thanks, Natalie. Okay, so now I'm going to color the petals. I have G99, or not the petals, the leaves. Oh my goodness. I have G28, G19, G07, and G05. Thanks, Holly. Okay, so I'm going to start with my G99, and this is the part of my leaf, the rounded part is the part that comes out from the flower. So I'm going to start down here. I'm going to trace over that black, and then I'm just going to use my little brush strokes to create an indentation in the center of the leaf. Okay, same thing with this one. I am also going to have dark color coming off of the bloom here and the little bud. Now my G28. Maybe if I put it, can you guys see it if it's down there? Hopefully. don't know if you guys can hear my heater kick on, but I have a heater down by my feet. Thanks, Tyler. And, yeah. I'm just cold today. I don't know what my deal is. I'm usually not so super cold. But today, that's how I roll. I finally got my ink storage tray in from Organize More. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I love it. I love now that all of my ink is all where I can access it. It makes me super happy. I'll have to show you guys a picture of it. This is one of my favorite colors of green. Yes, it is the one I ordered back in November. They had a really bad backlog, and so I just got it yesterday. And it was kind of funny because I sort of forgot about it. Like in the back of my brain, I knew that I had ordered it and that it was coming, but and they're a great company. They sent me, emails and, kept us abridged of what was going on, enlightened as to what was going on. And so, like, not a big deal at all. Hi, Allison. Ooh, beef stew, yummy. That sounds amazing. So they really kept us in the loop on what was going on. So, I don't fault them that they couldn't, get proper materials and stuff. Not a big deal. And they hand make all of their stuff. So, again, I wasn't really concerned about it. But my husband took the day off yesterday because he has like a scratch in his eye, and it was really hurting him. So yeah, super random. I have no idea how that happened. And so it came in the UPS, brought it, and I was like, what the heck even is this? And I just, I could not wrap my brain around, what was coming and what was in such a large box. And when I opened it, I was like, oh, it's my ink organizer. I'm so excited. And so I was like a little kid on Christmas, and I ripped it all open, and I set it up and put all my inks in it. I was just so happy. So happy. So now I am whole and complete. I made a boo-boo and went outside the line there, so just fixing that. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to grab my magnetic plate and my dies. Okay. So, the dies don't like to stick to the magnetic plate all the time. Some of them like to move around just like that. So, I grab my frog tape, And I actually have a couple of pieces right here. And I use my frog tape like again and again and again and again. Okay. Grab this little guy. Holly called it the funky chicken. She's not wrong. It does kind of look like a funky chicken. Now, I'm really persnippety on my dies and how I line them up and stuff. So, I mean, if you're not quite as anal retentive as I am about your dies, then this process goes much faster. But full disclosure, I'm pretty anal retentive about my dies. My fingers are like all covered in tape. It's fine. We're fine. You're fine. I'm fine. We're all fine. And I always space when I stamp. I always space my things out enough. Not always, but I try to space all my images out enough so that I can run it through the die machine one time. Because I'm like that. I hate standing in front of my die machine forever and ever. So that's how that goes. So put my cover plate on. And give me just a second. Okay, here we go. And now you can just pull all of these off. And a lot of times I save my tape for many uses. So I just stick it on the edge. My rolling cart is right here next to me. The Recollections rolling cart thing is right here next to me. So I just stick them on there. Now, if you're mass producing these, you get really good at lining up the dies and, you know, taping them down, making them work the way you want them to work and all of that kind of stuff. So, there you go. Okay, now with this particular flower, I don't always use a foam block to shape it, but I will show you how. I have this little shaping tool, and you can use anything. You can use like the lid of a Sharpie. You can, like this will work just fine for shaping them and stuff. There's all different things that you can use. I just happen to have a flower tool. This one's from Heartfelt Creations, but there's, you know, tons of different ones out there. And I have my mouse pad sitting right here on my desk. So what I'm going to do is put all of this stuff on my mouse pad. And then I have my distress sprayer. And so I'm going to spritz the back, just one quick spritz, not super wet, so that I can shape this. And you just want to break down those paper fibers. And sometimes I'll put it in the palm of my hand and shape it too. And then I'll come down here. And this mouse pad doesn't work super well, just FYI. So I'm just breaking down these paper fibers so that I have more control over the shape of the paper. Okay, and then I like to take them in my hand and just kind of pinch them some. And you can also put the ball underneath it and kind of roll it around the ball. So be creative about what you have around you to shape the flowers. You don't need a specific tool, okay? Sometimes I get super froggy and I clip these to give me even more flexibility in shaping them. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Little spritz. Super froggy. Good morning, Leah. You're not super froggy in the morning? Orchids always have that, like, I don't know, they're super bendy, like they've been shaped around like a cup or something. They're very static. Okay. And actually, I want this one this way. So I'm going to turn it over to the front. There we go. Thanks, Leah. Okay. Now, the rest of these, I'm just going to use one spritz. And you're not going to hurt your Copic coloring. And I'm going to take this small and rub it right down the vein of that leaf. And then I'm going to come in from the back side and really shape that leaf up. Okay. And I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on these. I'm not, oops, I did that the wrong direction. I'm not really worried because this is Sweet Sentiment paper and it pretty much takes a beating. So I'm not too awful worried about how much pressure I'm putting on it because I know I'm not going to rip the paper. Now this one, I'm gonna break down from the back side, and then I'm gonna come in and curve it forward. And then I'm gonna cut. Leah, you're probably better at shaping these orchids than I am. You did a bunch of them yesterday. And then I'm gonna take the little ball and separate this. And then I'm gonna take the big one. All right. And again, you don't have to be as, anal retentive about shaping all of that as I am. I just, like to show you like the full Monty. If you're going through and doing the full Monty, this is what you're going to do. But if you're not, I mean, seriously, don't worry about it. Okay. So the side with the larger cutout, see that one's small and this one's large. So the side with the larger cutout, you're going to put down this direction like this. Okay? So I'm going to grab my Barely Arts glue. I usually don't use Barely Arts glue for flower assembly, mainly because it takes a minute to dry, and I'm all about instant gratification. But you do you. So I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure here. You guys all got really quiet. Everybody okay? Okay. Then I'm going to take this little guy, the funky chicken, and I'm just going to place him right in the middle. Now you can Google a picture of an orchid and, you can go nuts placing all this stuff perfectly. But me, I'm just going to go with it. Okay, now let me grab my glitter. Sponge. So I have a little piece of sponge, and I have some super fine glitter, very sparkly. Right, Tyler? I wouldn't know anybody that did that. Well, except for me, but whatever. And I'm going to take my Barely Arts glue, and I'm just going to put glue on the sponge. And I'm going to squeeze the sponge together. The more glue you have, the more sparkly it's going to be. Okay, and now this one. And I just submerged that bad boy into glitter. Because, you know, why not? And yes, I am going to pick it up with my fingers. Look at that. So pretty. Okay. Put my glitter aside. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab a piece of the new Sweet Sentiment craft cardstock. And I'm gonna cut it down to be a card front. So 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And I'm gonna grab my Misty. We're making a whole on card here. Hi, Kirsten. And I will get my Rabbit Hole Designs powder brush. I'm going to get my Versamark. And then I need clear embossing powder for this. So, I'm sure my clear embossing powder is in here. And this is Clear Matte Dull. That's what I want. Okay, so I'm going to, from the stamp set, grab the geometric piece. And I should put it right side. I have 0 ways of lining this up perfectly, so I'm just gonna eyeball it. And part of when I eyeball things is I will grab like something that I know is a straight line. And I like this little tool. It's a mixed media tool because I can line it up and just kind of eyeball it so it's close enough. Okay, so pick that up. Now, I have not used this one yet, so I'm going to rough it up a little bit with my fingers. I'm going to take my powder brush. I totally over powder, so don't mind me. And then it just pops up like this, so you can put the lid back on it. And that primes it for the next time. Then, my Versamark. And I like double Versamark, triple Versamark, like I am a Versamark junkie. And don't forget your Sweet Sentiment espresso. Nice even pressure will give you a nice clean stamp line. Look at how pretty that is. Nice and clean. Now I'm gonna do these one at a time. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to grab a random spare piece of paper. And I'm going to cover this whole thing. And then what I like to do is I like to tap my paper a little bit and let that embossing powder settle into all of that ink before I start pouring it back. It's really hard to keep everything like in front of the camera. So, now I don't know. Oh, there it is. Like, now I don't know what happened to my lid. Okay, so cover your ears for just a moment while I warm up my embossing gun. It looks like a crop circle. Okay, number one complete. So then I'm going to go back to my Misty, and I'm just going to rotate this. Make sure it's snug and in the corner. Grab your embossing tool again. This Rabbit Hole Designs embossing tool will change your embossing life. Like, it just makes all of it so clean and so easy. It's incredible. There's not a bunch of errant embossing powder everywhere. Now, this didn't line up like exactly, but I'm gonna put the flower in the middle, so it doesn't really matter to me that I didn't line up exactly. It's just a skosh off. That's okay for me. I know that probably surprises a lot of you, but it just, on a scale of things that I'm going to spend 20 minutes doing, it is not going to be lining up a photopolymer stamp because it is flexible, and so you will drive yourself absolutely batshit crazy trying to make it perfect. So that's my TED Talk for the day. You're welcome. And always, always, always before you emboss, get rid of all of this embossing powder, or it's going to be all over your desk, all over your life, and the rest of your life will be gritty forever. And for the love of God, make sure you put your cap on this. Okay, again, embossing gun. And then I'll flip it over and kind of run this across the back to get my paper back to being a little bit more straight. Not like a ton, just a little bit. Okay, so now you can see the embossing brush remnants or leftovers. So I will take a cloth, you know, that you get for like cleaning your glasses with. And I'll just wipe that off. Okay. Now I will grab a card base. You guys, I make a ton of card bases in advance. Like I'll grab a whole ream of paper and make a whole bunch of card bases. So that's why I always have card bases hanging out. I'm also going to take, I never like to leave anything like, I feel like this is undone. So I'm going to grab my ground espresso and my bunny blending brush. And distress the edges a little bit. I love the subtlety of the clear embossing powder. And I love the matte clear on this craft cardstock. So this is the Sweet Sentiment craft cardstock. It's fantastic with pencils. It's in the shop. Just FYI. Okay. So now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my flower, and I tend to be a little bit extra. So I'm going to grab a ribbon, and I have this cool spool of ribbons. So I'm going to grab one of these, and I have it way too tight, so I have to like twist it myself. And okay, so what I'm going to do is I pinch it between my thumb and my middle finger, and then 1, 2 figure eights. Give yourself a long enough tail to work with. Push this down between your 2 fingers, up and around inside that loop. Pull it tight. Pull it off your fingers, and you have a perfect double bow. Cut your tails. Okay. I'm also going to grab a piece that is long enough for my card base. And I'm going to grab my Sukewing tape or score tape or whatever it is you like to call it. I like to call it Sukewing just because that's a fun word to say. I'm so right-hand dominant, you guys. It's scary. If somebody ever cut off my right hand, I would surely perish. Okay. Push those down. Now, I'm going to just pull up the side pieces. And I'm going to lay this on my grid paper, and I'm going to put the ribbon underneath, if I can. Okay. And then I'm going to line up where the ribbon comes out on both sides. by just shimmying it back and forth. And then I'm going to stick it to that sticky tape. Okay, so now I have a ribbon perfectly placed. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the corners of my tape and I'm just going to bend them up. And that way I can place this and reposition it and move it. Without ripping up my card base 100 times. So now that I see where I want it to be, I can push it down and then I can grab the little tab here and remove that and remove that. There you go. Okay, so now we're gonna glue our orchid down. Where did I set my glue? There it is. And a lot of the times I will hot glue this to the card, but in the case of today, I'm just gonna hold it down there for a second for the glue to dry. Okay, and while I have it down here, I'm gonna kind of reshape some of my leaves, make sure I'm good to go on all this. Okay, then I will, oh my gosh, this is me being right hand dominant again. Add a little glue to the back of the leaf. And that's why I didn't put glitter down here in this part, because I know it's going to be glued down and hidden. Okay. Then I think I'm going to put my bow over here. And these bows, the organza bows, will not stick with the Bearly Arts. So I usually use a glue dot for them or hot glue. 99% of the time I use hot glue, but the other couple of percent I will use a glue dot. I'm going to put that right there. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a Sweet Pop. It's amazing how many different types of glue you can use on one card, huh? And I'm just going to cut this to make two little squares because I want this to stay popped in the middle. I'm on my way to get stew at your house, Allison. I'll make some homemade bread. How about that? I'll contribute. And I'm gonna double this one up because it's concaved in the center. And this one, I'm just gonna single. I know, right? Sounds like a great plan to me. There. And now you have it. An orchid card, start to finish. I hope you guys really loved that little tutorial there. There's not a lot of cards that I can make inside of an hour that are starting from a plain stamped image to fully colored and fully laid out and finished card. So I really, really enjoy these 3D flowers. I think they're pretty stinking awesome. They make me really happy. So look forward to more 3D flowers. And if you have not checked out the Tropical Flora, I suggest you do that, along with this brand new called One and Only Orchid. So I hope you had fun coloring with me this morning. You didn't color me, you colored with me. And I am going to refresh my coffee and get back to work. So thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you again super soon. Toodles!